I'm George Lucas.
And I'm Watto.
And tonight we're celebrating the best movies of 2024.
On the greatest movie ever made.
Cinema is a thing that deals with things beyond words, and it's so beautiful.
Welcome to the greatest movie ever made's Best of 2024 episode. A celebration of the films and filmmakers who defined the past year in cinema.
It sure is, Watto, and all the stars are here. You like that? That was my Norm Macdonald impression. All the stars are here. Like Hayden Christensen, Jake Lloyd, Dex, that guy from the Space Diner in Attack of the Clones. You know, the fat guy with all the forearms?
Yes, I like him a lot. He's funny.
He's like a big fat Greek guy. THX 1138. Those teenagers from American Graffiti are here. Sebulba is here.
Oh shit, is he up for an award tonight? I'm betting everything on Sebulba.
Oh, Watto, look who it is. It's the men of the hour. They just happened to show up.
Oh shit, you're right. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for your hosts, David Scandura and Justice Burkett.
Wow, boys. Thanks for that great introduction.
Yeah, really couldn't ask for better unwanted squatters who live in my walls without paying any kind of rent or contributing in any way, and interrupt my weekly podcast and set up recording equipment that doesn't even belong to me. It's technically my wife's. David, should we start the show now?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Well, Justice, here we are.
Yeah.
Best of 2024 episode.
That's right. It's the year 2025. Which is like, I don't know, there's something very like clean about a year that ends in 5. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Just feels like a very like orderly year. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
I don't know, dude.
We haven't done this in a while, and
It's been a few weeks.
As we were doing sound check, I was like, do I remember how to do this? We took a little break. But now we're back to talk about the year 2024 in film.
Yeah.
Because we have now entered the new year and all of the the wonderful stuff that's ahead of us.
The new year.
In the year 2025.
Yeah, I'm David Scandura. Joined as did I forget how to do this?
I guess so.
It's the greatest movie ever made.
Yeah.
The show where we watch a movie and tell you if it's the greatest movie ever made.
You know what doesn't help is that George Lucas and Watto introed the show for us, which normally doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So because of that, maybe our intro is a little out of whack.
I'm David Scandura, joined as always by my co-host Justice Burkett.
Oh yes. And you know what? I got my long legs on today. For this episode where we're going to be talking about 2024 in film, which includes such films as Longlegs and many more.
It was the year of Longlegs,
yeah.
the year of Deadpool and Wolverine,
yes.
the year of
I didn't see that movie.
Substance.
I did see that movie. Yeah. Dune Part 2, which we already have a whole episode on, so we're probably not going to talk about that one too much. But lots of big movies this year. It feels like, obviously the pandemic happened and theaters were like a little, not a lot of shit was coming out in theaters for a couple years, right?
Right.
And then it feels like 2023 was like, at least this is how it felt to me, was kind of like the first full year back for movie theaters. But 2024 really felt like a true we're so back year. It feels like there were lots of event movies this year.
I feel like there were a lot of peaks and valleys this year.
Yeah.
A lot of high performing movies and that ruled the box office for weeks on end. And then a lot of really weird, surprising lows.
Yeah.
So of course, Disney had a really good year. A lot of the big studios had good years, right, with Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, Wicked.
Yeah. Did you see Wicked?
No.
Neither did I. Neither of us saw. That's the biggest movie of the year, right? Or Inside Out 2 is.
I think Inside Out 2, as of this recording, is still the biggest movie of the year.
Yeah, which I assume also neither of us saw. Which is funny that we're doing a 2024 retrospective and some of the biggest movies of the year. But I mean, I feel like, people who tune into the show regularly don't expect us to have a take on Inside Out 2 necessarily.
Yeah, a lot of those bigger movies I did not bother seeing. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't see really any cape shit this year.
I mean, yeah.
I've resigned myself to, like, I don't need to pay money to go see a kid's movie.
Yeah, that's
so I know people loved, like, The Wild Robot.
Yeah.
Didn't bother with it.
Yes. So if you're tuning into this for our take on The Wild Robot, sorry, we don't have one.
But along with that, there was a lot of really strange, weird lows where, like, Furiosa tanks,
yeah.
Joker 2 tanks, like,
Yeah.
stuff that in a pre-pandemic world one may have expected to, like, make a decent amount of money.
Yeah. Yeah, the Furiosa one's kind of a bummer because, I think that movie's good. I think it, like, deserved to do better than it did. But anyway, it also, it doesn't help that it was a sequel to a movie or a prequel, I guess, to a movie that came out, like, a decade ago.
Yeah.
But anyway. But, like, you got your niche players in there.
Yeah.
That like, did kind of, like, tidy business, like Conclave, made a decent chunk of change, and it's like that kind of came out of nowhere where you're like, oh, like, this fucking weird, like, political Vatican movie starring, like, all of these, like, kind of dudes who are, like, entering their elder statesman era, right? You had shit like that was just kind of like, oh shit, like, we can make movies like this again, I guess.
Well, and a good year for horror.
Yeah,
like, Alien Romulus, Quiet Place, Day One.
Yeah.
The Substance, Terrifier 2, recently
3,
Nosferatu, Terrifier 3,
Yeah.
yes. Nosferatu,
Yeah.
all, like, making decent money at the box office.
Immaculate, First Omen, all doing tidy business. Good box office year for horror for sure.
Yeah.
Like lots of kind of, like, mid to low budget horror movie making just, like, decent money, including Longlegs, which was sort of like a box office, did tidy business at the box office, mostly because of that, like, viral marketing campaign, which was really, really well done.
Yeah, excellent marketing campaign for that movie. I think I don't want to, like, praise marketing teams because I think marketing's evil, but, like,
well, I mean, to be fair,
the marketing for Longlegs and Substance and Kinds of Kindness, actually, we're all really great because it's like we're just going to put out marketing that tells you nothing about the movie and just gives you vibes. And that's what I want.
Yeah, and there were some movies where the trailer was, like, better than the movie for me, like Heretic. I was like, I kind of wish that I had seen the movie that the trailer showed me instead of what the movie actually was. But, like, I understand what you're saying, like, marketing is evil, you don't want to praise marketing teams. Like, I get the whole, like, capitalism is kind of the death of art thing, but at the same time, if a movie wasn't marketed, you wouldn't know that it was coming out. So it's like to a certain extent, you do have to be like, all right, like, the marketing people are how I know about this.
How many movies did you see?
Do
you know?
I do know. I'm gonna once again be showing my ass here as a guy who, like, shouldn't necessarily have a movie podcast, because technically, if you include Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person, which is a movie that premiered at festivals in 2023 but didn't get a theatrical release until 2024, so I am counting that as a 2024 release because I go by theatrical release.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
If you include that one, I am at 17 titles released in 2024.
Okay.
Which is, like, not a ton. However, I did surpass my goal to go into this episode with at least 15 because we do a top 5 and I wanted 2/3 of the movies that I watched at a minimum to not be in the top 5 in order to feel like I had, like, an actual top 5, right? Because if you're doing top 5 out of, like, 8 movies, what are you even fucking doing?
Right.
Do
you want to guess how many I saw?
I'm going to say, I know it was way more than me. I don't know. I have no, like, concept about, like, how many movies came out this year. So I'm just going to kind of shoot in the dark and say you saw 40?
I saw 57.
Holy shit. 57 2024 releases.
Yes.
Wow.
Including stuff that premiered at a festival and, like, didn't make it to theater or streaming until 2024. Like, Hundreds of Beavers premiered at a festival, I think, in 2022 and shit like that.
That's
I saw 57 movies.
That's a lot more movies than I watched.
Most of them in theaters.
Yeah.
I would say a good 80 to 85% of the movies on my that I saw this year were in theaters.
Yeah, well, I mean, people who have been with us since episode 1, this shouldn't be surprising for, because we have always made it clear from the very first episode of this podcast that you are more the movie buff of the two of us. But I will have some takes about the 17 movies that I did,
and I have a lot of extra awards that I wanted to give out that I'm gonna like pepper in throughout the episode, just to give some love to movies that I'm probably not going to talk about.
Yeah.
And because it's fun and it's my show. It's our show. But it's my list.
I think it's your show this episode. More your show than my show this episode. I do think I did do better than last year's best of the previous year episode. Because I think like last year I had only seen like 12 or 13 movies. So I managed to get a few more in.
Yeah.
But I'm fucking busy. I don't know. I don't have time to watch all these fucking movies. Also, I just like to watch shit that I like. So if there's nothing in theaters that sounds interesting to me, I'm just like, oh, I'll just watch some movie from the 80s I've been hearing about or whatever.
Yeah, a lot of the movies I saw were purely based on I watched a trailer, or I heard, hey, that movie's cool, and maybe I'll go see it, and I just went to go see it. And it was a lot of there were not a lot of big studio blockbusters on my list, because it was just like a lot of smaller movies that I had a passing interest in that I thought might be fun. And a lot of them surprised me.
Yeah.
And some disappointed me, and we'll get into that. Yep. We'll do the same thing we did last year, which is worst movie, most disappointing, most surprising, and then we'll do our top 5.
Yep.
And I'll throw in my little fun awards, which, to start off with, the movie award for the movie vehicle I want to drunk drive the most. The nominees are Dementis' motorcycle chariot from Furiosa.
Yes.
The purple Dodge Challenger from Kinds of Kindness.
Okay.
The Smuggler Spice Harvester from Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
The Harkonnen Ornithopter from Dune Part 2.
Okay, wait, so you're picking multiple vehicles from Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
Which also means you could have picked more from Furiosa.
I could have.
Are there any more from Furiosa on that?
I feel like the motorcycle chariot is the one.
What about the war rig with the bombie knocker? You're drunk driving with the bombie knocker going?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I like the war rig in Furiosa.
And then the Heave from Godzilla X Kong, which is like it's a flying vehicle, and since most of that movie takes place in the Hollow Earth, it can like adapt to the weird Hollow Earth gravity.
Oh,
and that's
cool.
kind of fun. And the winner is obviously the Harkonnen Ornithopter from Dune Part 2.
Yes, the Harkonnen Ornithopters. I mean, listen to our Dune Part 2 episode for more thoughts on just the design in that movie in general. But they're fucking rad as hell.
Yeah.
And I like that they're just like big and loud, and like it seems like they're also stinky and evil compared to the Atreides ones.
And I just wanna take off across the funeral plane.
Yeah.
Blasting some music and knocking back some Miller Lights and that thing.
Folks bound. Sorry.
Yeah, it would be Fortunate Son, right?
Because it's like a helicopter. Obviously, my vehicle that I would drunk drive is clearly the war rig from Furiosa, as I previously stated, bombie knocker, or the Octobosses fucking flying motorcycle with his fucking kite. I take orders from the Octoboss. Octoboss supremacy.
I think if there was a runner up, it would be Dementis' motorcycle chariot.
That is pretty rad. He wears like 3 motorcycles as a it's pretty rad.
Especially like if you get flung off that thing, you're just heading straight to hell.
You know what's impressive
That's
is
awesome.
the maintenance on that thing must be really fucking difficult, but he does keep it for over a decade. Because he's driving it like later when he's like running Gastown and shit.
Yeah.
But he has it when Furiosa's like a baby at the beginning of the movie. And I'm like, man, the upkeep on that thing must be fucking nuts. Because you gotta like maintain not just one motorcycle, but 3. Yeah, it's just impressive that he's able to. Well, I'm sure he has people doing it for him.
Yeah.
Dementis isn't doing shit on his own.
No.
Anyway. what category do we want to hit?
You pick it.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, normally we've only done this one other time. We're probably gonna end with our top 5.
Sure.
Do you want to do most disappointing?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's do disappointing, surprising, and then worst and
Okay.
top 5.
Okay. What was the most disappointing movie of the year for you, David?
So
Yeah.
there were a lot of sequels to established franchises
Yeah.
that disappointed me in one way or another. There were very few sequels that met my expectations or surpassed them. So like,
I also feel like this is just like a general thing for this entire podcast. I feel like you can mention more than one title for a lot of these because you saw so many fucking movies.
I truly did.
So I don't think you need to restrict yourself to a single most disappointing title.
So, even ones that I liked, like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, hate to say it, Furiosa.
We differ on that. We've sort of talked about this.
Which got better for me on a second viewing.
Yeah, I think I liked it a lot more than you did. But,
even Gladiator 2, which I sort of knew going in wasn't going to be fantastic, was like, it would have been really nice if that movie surpassed expectations. But no movie disappointed me and crushed me, and I can say this wholeheartedly because I watched it a second time and it got worse than a film from a director who I've enjoyed his movies in the past, and I have a lot of love for this franchise, and that is Fede Alvarez's Alien Romulus.
This doesn't surprise me at all. I still haven't seen it, but I've heard a lot of the gripes that people had with it.
Yeah, it's Xenomorph Summer Camp. It's Are You Afraid of the Dark Xenomorph episode. It is the worst case scenario possible for Disney buying Fox and releasing an Alien movie. It is
pretty formulaic.
It is formulaic and safe and has boring characters. The central leads are good, but they're not enough to hold up the movie for me. And it has these beautiful visual effects, this loving recreation of Ridley Scott's interiors and all the tech, that like retro futuristic tech. And then the movie just takes a big old shit all over the screen with the CGI Ian Holm.
Yeah, that's the main thing I've heard about it.
And it's like like a fulcrum point or a lightning rod for all the other problems in the movie.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Where it just makes the other shit stand out even more.
It's just a movie strung together with a lot of references and not a lot of creativity or new ideas.
Yeah, that's a shame.
I want that Fede Alvarez like meanness and that exploitation film streak that he has.
Yeah, and we know that he can bring that to an established IP because his Evil Dead movie is like the third or maybe even second best Evil Dead movie.
Yeah.
Like he has done it before, that's a huge bummer.
Yeah, it's the least interesting Alien movie. And there are Alien movies that are worse than it that are more interesting than this. So
yeah, that's pretty damning.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the least interesting.
Yeah. So it hurt. It really hurt. What about you? Do you got a most disappointing?
Yes, I do. So I will caveat my most disappointing and most surprising and also worst movie picks. So everything except my top 5. By just saying, like, obviously I didn't see that many movies. We already went over that. And I mostly only saw movies that I like wanted to see and was interested in. I didn't like hate watch anything. So the movies that I'm going to be ragging on a little bit are not necessarily bad movies. I don't think I saw a movie this year that I didn't like at all. Every movie of those 17 is a movie that I enjoyed to some degree. Right. So that's the caveat. I'm basically not going to be talking about any movies that I hated because I kind of didn't see any. Right. That being said, I really enjoyed the first 2 installments in a horror trilogy that completed this year. And I kind of thought the ending of the trilogy was the weakest by a country mile, which is Maxine with 3 X's. Maxine. Because X, I thought, was kind of a fun, inventive throwback slasher with a little bit of a creative streak to it in how it treated sort of the old couple antagonists, right, and sort of humanized them in a way that you don't usually get with like a throwback slasher like that. And so I think X is really solid. I think it's like a very good slasher movie. I think Pearl is great. I think Pearl is probably the best movie of the trilogy.
Yeah, I'd
right?
agree. I think Pearl's clearly the best.
Yeah. And then Maxine, I went into really excited because I had liked X. I had loved Pearl. And I was like really interested to see where this is going. Love Mia Goth. She gave great performances in these other two movies. So I was really down to see, what Ty West and co were going to come up with to round out this trilogy. And it kind of felt like a mess, like there was stuff in it that I liked and stuff in it that I really didn't. And the third act for me really killed that movie.
Yeah.
I feel like it started a little weak, kind of peaked in the middle. And then the third act of that movie is kind of just a wet fart of nothing for me, right? Where I left the theater kind of with a bad taste in my mouth about the entire enterprise, Like I was kind of like, well, do I like X and Pearl less because this is how this whole thing ended? It's sort of how I ended up feeling. And the more I thought about the movie and the more distance I got from it, kind of the less antagonistic my relationship with it was, because I was like, well, I really did like Kevin Bacon in it. Mia Goth is still really good.
I think the performances hold that movie. I was disappointed too.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think the performances hold that movie up, and the vibe and atmosphere and aesthetic of the movie are really good.
It looks good,
but it's such a mess in terms of structure and plot.
Yeah. It kind of just feels like, it almost feels like Ty West didn't know how to do a third installment of this series, and kind of just threw a bunch of ideas into the screenplay, and like none of them really feel fully fleshed out or developed.
Right.
So that bummed me out. And so it's taken my most disappointing slot. Because I think it could have been a lot better than it was. It could have been a lot worse too, but
yeah, it's definitely bummed me out, especially coming off of Pearl.
Yeah.
And what a great movie that was.
I do love Kevin Bacon doing his fucking Bayou shit.
Oh yeah,
like, I say.
Kevin Bacon might be a nominee in one of my later categories.
Yeah.
So I have to give out the award for the dumbest character name, and there's only one nomination, so he automatically wins. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's character in immediate holiday classic Red One. Do you know what his name is?
I do not.
Callum Drift.
Ugh, fuck off.
What the fuck kind of character name is that?
Eat my entire ass.
So then the award for best character name is Aubrey Plaza's character from Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis, which I'm having trouble saying apparently.
Yes.
Wow Platinum.
Yes, I had heard about Wow Platinum. Yeah, I don't have anything for this category. But Wow Platinum is rad.
Do you have a most surprising movie?
I do. So my most surprising film is also one that I promised the Podmaster that I would shout out on mic, because it is her favorite film of the year and one of her recent just favorite movie. It's a current fave period of hers. It came out this year and we already own it on Blu-ray. Partially because it wasn't a huge success, so it went to Blu-ray pretty quickly, and also partially just because we needed to pick that up right away. So it's Lisa Frankenstein is the most surprising for me, because I had no expectations going into it. I was basically like, okay, Diablo Cody, sure. And fucking one of the Sprouses is in it. The one that's in Riverdale is in it. And I had seen him in Riverdale, and been like, he can't necessarily hold together a bad movie. So if this movie is bad, him being in it isn't going to plus it up at all, right? And I've seen Diablo Cody movies, and she didn't direct it. She wrote the screenplay.
Right.
But I had seen movies that she's written that I've liked, and I've seen movies that she's written that I had, some potential issues with. And I didn't really know where this was going to fall. And I watched it with High Priestess Pod, and I really liked it. I thought it was very nice. It's a fun, stylish movie. It's funny. And it's totally like fucking high school or like early college, like I can fix him ass type movie. There's a little bit of like Cole Sprouse is kind of like a manic pixie dream boy as the little fucking undead violent femmes fan. And I don't know, it's sweet and it's good and it's funny, and Carla Gugino's in it and I fucking love her all the time. Yeah, it's pretty good. I liked it.
My dad notoriously has a giant crush on Carla Gugino.
Yeah, well, I mean, how could you not?
He calls her Spy Kids mom. He's been in love with her since the Spy Kids
I
movies.
forgot she was the mom in Spy Kids.
She is.
You didn't see Lisa Frankenstein, did you?
No.
Oh, yeah, so that's one that's on my list and not on yours. I would say give it a shot. You're not going to like it as much as me and the Podmaster did. I know your taste, and you're not going to. But it is pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, I heard a lot of people liked it, and it came out in like January or February and didn't do terribly well.
No, yeah. But I think worth seeing if you haven't seen it. And it's already like fucking everywhere. It's on streaming and it's on physical already. So you can grab it anywhere.
Okay.
Give it a shot. What was yours most surprising?
So for this, I went with one that I had a bit of anticipation and lead up to, and expectations based on the director and his recent filmography and cultural opinion, rather than a movie that surprised me out of nowhere. Because a lot of the movies, again, like a lot of the movies that I saw this year, I just was like, oh, I heard that's good, and I went to go see it, and it surprised me. Or I watched the trailer once and thought it looked good, and went to go see it, and it surprised me. So I picked one that I had some preconceived notions going in. I remember seeing the trailers in theaters and looking at it and going like, that looks cool. I'll see what people think about it. I wonder if this is going to be a good one. And then people started hating on it, and I was like, I don't know. I still kind of want to see it. And then I saw it, and it's also my fuck you, I had fun movie of the year. And that's M. Night Shyamalan's Trap, baby.
Oh, I am so glad we're talking about Trap.
Trap good?
Trap good. So I was thinking about how last year my most disappointing was Knock at the Cabin.
Mm-hmm.
And what I said last year about Knock at the Cabin. Sorry, I'm cutting in on your yeah, so I had my gripe with Knock at the Cabin was that it felt safe for M. Night, right? It felt like he was just kind of doing a relatively straightforward adaptation of this book, and I didn't feel his M. Night flair in that movie as much. It felt like anybody could have made that movie, and it would have been the same movie. It didn't feel like an M. Night movie. Trap. Trap is what I want from M. Night, right? Trap, I'm like, okay, Knock at the Cabin was like generic, safe, accessible M. Night. Trap is like fucking him on his fully like firing on all cylinders creatively.
Yeah. Oh,
He is fucking M. Nighting left and right in that movie.
And I remember seeing a lot of the reviews and like the YouTube thumbnails of people rolling their eyes.
Yeah.
And it's like M. Night's back up to his usual shit again.
Yeah.
And
good.
like, I don't know, man. I had fucking fun.
I had a blast watching Trap.
Yeah.
It's so unapologetically what it is, right?
Yeah.
Like and I think that's one of the things that people had some friction with is like they I think didn't necessarily understand that the movie is stupid and insane on purpose, right? They were like, this movie's stupid and insane, thumbs down. And I'm like, no, the movie is stupid and insane like intentionally, and like that is what is supposed to be the main draw of it.
Right. And even people accusing it of being like just an excuse for M. Night Shyamalan to artificially boost his daughter's singing career.
Yes.
Which is true.
Yes, which it is that.
Because
which is awesome.
It is partially a concert movie, and plenty of the movie is just uninterrupted songs sung by Salika Shyamalan in character.
I don't want to.
A lot of the music I liked. A lot of the vibe of the movie created by the songs and the performance, the concert performance.
Yeah.
I liked. And another thing I love about the movie is it feels like M. Night Shyamalan keeps writing himself into a corner time and time again throughout that movie, and then finding a way to write himself out.
Yes.
Much like the protagonist is.
Yes. It seems like he was just having fun writing.
Yeah.
Like,
and sometimes it doesn't work.
oh, yeah.
A lot of times it does, or it at least is fun and entertaining, even if it is stupid and insane and
Yes.
doesn't make a lot of logical sense.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It is very much like the type of movie that someone who is obsessed with like continuity and like plot holes and shit, it is a movie that someone like that is going to like inherently like write off as like bad and like not well thought out or whatever. But I'm like, if you're thinking about the movie that way, you're missing the point. The point is that it's like M. Night being like, what if I just fucking do this now?
Yeah.
Like, what if the movie's this now?
Yeah.
What if it's, I don't want to. We want to discuss these movies mostly spoiler free, so that people who haven't checked them out yet, can still have maximum enjoyment out of them. But I do want to say, one of the most insane things that movie does is it just makes M. Night Shyamalan's daughter the protagonist in like at like the beginning of the third act, where like the whole rest of the movie she's been like in the distance on a stage singing her songs, and you think that's gonna be what her relationship to the movie is the whole time, and then it's like, no, now she's the main character. Like suddenly she is the star of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is batshit insane.
It just goes to such strange and fun places.
Yeah.
And I love his control of perspective in that movie, where everything is from the main character played by Josh Hartnett.
Yes.
Everything's from his perspective.
Cooper Trapp.
Cooper Trapp himself. Everything's from his perspective, so we're only seeing the stage from his perspective.
And other characters from his
it's-
perspective.
I don't know. It's just like
Like the merch guy.
it's like him doing Hitchcock but stupid,
Yes.
and it's fun. It's one of my favorite M. Night movies at this point.
Yeah.
And I want to interrupt this for another award that the award for best performance from an actor who decided to become unhinged this year for some reason, because a lot of actors decided to just like established, well-known actors just decided to go fucking off the rails.
Right. They were like, what if this was my year to go fucking insane?
So Ed Harris in Love Lies Bleeding,
Uh-huh.
Hugh Grant in Heretic, Dennis Quaid in The Substance, Kevin Bacon in Maxine, and the winner of the award, Josh Hartnett in Trap.
Yes.
Who pulls this movie together like he's Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2 trying to stop the train.
He is incredible in Trap. You know who's also great in Trap? Allison Pill.
Yeah.
When I was watching like the later scenes in that movie when she finally shows up, I was like, Allison Pill fucking rules. She's so good. But yeah, Hartnett is like, it really is like a full on like, I know we've already been in a Hartnett renaissance, with Oppenheimer and
Right.
whatnot, but I feel like it feels like Trap is really like a star making Hartnett performance, right?
Yeah, it's like McConaughey and Dallas Buyers Club.
Totally.
Like this
yeah.
is the one that's gonna start the Heart Renaissance.
Right. It's like he's fully back.
Yeah.
He's full, and also Trap made money. It like
Mhm.
it did a tidy little profit, right? As M. Night movies like literally always do, pretty much. Even when people talk shit critically, he's like always coming home with the bag secured, which I really appreciate about that guy. He knows how to make a movie that will make a profit. But yeah, Hartnett rules.
So that's my most surprising film of the year, Trap.
You know who else could have been in your decided to go unhinged this year list? I know you put Quaid for The Substance, but also Demi Moore is also unhinged in The Substance.
Well, my Best Actress award
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
is award for best performance from an actress who surprised the hell out of me this year.
Yeah.
And these are established actresses who just like I didn't necessarily know they had this performance in them. And we have Pamela Anderson in The Last Showgirl, which I just caught last week, and she was getting some awards buzz. I think it's sort of been, she hasn't gotten the awards that people thought she would get, but I think she's great in that film. Zendaya in Challengers, who I know you were really enamored with Zendaya in Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
Watching Challengers, I was like, oh, I get it now. Zendaya's fucking incredible in
She's
Challengers. Good. Hunter Schafer in Cuckoo. And Jodie Comer in The Bike Riders, and the winner is Demi Moore in The Substance.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. If she doesn't get nominated for Best Actress,
yeah,
this will be my like Toni Collette not getting nominated for Hereditary moment.
She won the Globe.
Yeah.
So I think she'll probably be a shoo-in at least for a nomination.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of great leading actress performances this year, so I don't know if she's necessarily like a shoo-in for the award. I think in my opinion, I think she'd be a great contender, but I also didn't see 57 movies.
Yeah, I don't know that the Academy can sit down and stomach all 2.5 hours of The Substance.
That's fair, but I feel like she'll probably at least get the nom.
I would hope,
considering
so.
she won the Globe.
I would really hope so.
Yeah,
because I think it's an incredible performance.
Oh yeah, and I mean, everybody's saying it.
Yeah,
because it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's fucking great in that movie. Are we at worst? Do you want to talk about movies that we didn't like?
Yeah.
What's the worst movie that you saw released in 2024?
So when you see 57 movies in a year,
yeah,
not all of them are going to be good.
Yeah.
And I did occasionally intentionally seek out some stinkers.
Yeah, I would like to say, by the way, my pick for worst, due to the disclaimer that I gave earlier, is like pretty lame. So I would encourage you to talk as much as you want about movies that you hated, because you're going to have a lot more to say than I am on this one.
Would you like to start then, or?
Oh, I mean, I can. I can just do it really quick.
Yeah.
My worst movie of the year, again, a movie that I kind of still sort of enjoyed, but was like, the further away I get from it, the more I'm like, wow, that really was like not great, was The First Omen.
Okay.
I thought it was like fine when I watched it, and then the more I thought about it afterwards, I was like, that was like really derivative and like not very original. And also the ending thing where they like show a fucking headshot of Gregory Peck was stupid as shit. But I don't really have that much to say about it because it's not a bad movie. It's just the least good movie I saw.
I know a lot of people really liked it. I found it to be sort of forgettable too.
Yeah.
But definitely well made.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And I saw more movies directed by women this year. And First Omen was directed by, I believe her name is Arkasha Stevenson.
Yes.
Very well directed film, and I would love to see more stuff from her.
Yeah. Which is like why I can't actually rag on it too much, because it is like competently made at least.
Yeah.
Anyway, hit me with some real garbage.
So there were a few like definite contenders for worst.
Yeah.
I spent 10 minutes talking about Reagan on an earlier episode of this podcast.
You sure did.
Reagan, just like, what are we even doing anymore? Terrible film, but I really, really enjoyed it. Then you have shit like Madam Web, which a lot of people enjoyed, ironically. I didn't.
Yeah. But
I sort of think Madam Web is like important. Like, I think Madam Web should be shown in film schools. Because if you want to very easily demonstrate to someone who has no knowledge of how films are made, very little filmmaking experience or working knowledge or vocabulary or understanding, just show them Madam Web as just like a laundry list of what not to do.
Right, how not to make a movie.
Do you want a normal movie going fan to immediately understand what bad editing and bad ADR look like? Show them Madam Web.
Yeah.
It's like 2001 of bad movies.
Do you think that plus Kraven the Hunter, do you think the double whammy of those two is the nail in the coffin of the Sony superhero movie?
I think so.
Do you think they're never going to make another one?
I think they're done after Kraven.
This is what I've been hearing, and I'm like, I bet it's true, right?
Yeah.
Because they had, like, by the time Madam Web came out, they already had Craven in the Chamber. So they were like, we just also got to put this one out. But it just feels like everything that they've put out this year, like the Venom The Last Dance, got pretty tepid response.
The Venom movies have made money and they
Yeah.
have their fans, but
Right.
but most of those fans would agree they're not good movies.
Yeah. I
Like-
just feel like between the third Venom movie, Madam Web, and then Craven, it feels like they're basically just like, all right, this is
Yeah.
all we got. We just got to release the shit that we already have, and then like we're washing our hands of this.
Yeah, and I haven't seen any of the others.
Yeah.
But Madam Web is just like, oh man, it is unfathomably bad.
Yeah.
To the point where I think it is important and worthy of study and should be shown in film schools. So I can't rag on it too much.
Okay.
Honestly.
So it's not fully at the very bottom of the
No.
barrel.
What maybe would have been the bottom of the barrel is Red One,
Yeah.
which literally I was like catching up on movies on streaming service, and after I finished watching The Beekeeper with Jason Statham, it just started auto playing Red One, and I was like, oh, fuck it, whatever.
Netflix was like, if we just start playing Red One, this technically counts as you streaming it, so we can add that to our bottom line.
Oh man, what a joyless,
Yeah.
the sort of movie that portends a massive social decline. No, so but the real worst movie of the year, just like stuck in my craw, and I have a blood oath against this movie. I think
Stuck
now
in your what?
stuck in my craw. You ever heard that phrase before?
I have never heard that phrase.
I'm sure I've said it before.
Huh.
It doesn't come up for me all that often.
Stuck in my
So-
craw.
so-
What is a craw?
I don't know, actually.
Huh.
Anyway, so for most of us, a bad movie will last 90 minutes,
Yeah.
maybe 2 hours.
Right.
For me, these bad movies, because it's technically 2 movies and their director's cuts, lasted 10 and a half hours of my only life.
Oh, I know what this
my
is.
one life on this planet.
I know what you're gonna talk about.
And this is from a director who has made a couple of movies that I, have some fondness for.
Yes, and some other movies.
And some movies that are like the worst things I've ever seen in my life, and it's Zack Snyder, good old Zachy Snyder, and his Rebel Moon duology.
I can hear the Snyder Bros coming to attack us already. I can hear them approaching.
You know that that a Snyder movie is bad when even the Snyder Bros aren't defending it. And that's what happened with Rebel Moon. So the part 1 of Rebel Moon technically came out in 2023.
Yeah.
Part 2 released in early 2024. So I guess it's technically, if I have to give it to one, it's part 2.
And
But
these were
but then
yeah.
But then Netflix, trying to artificially recreate the Snyder Cut hype, were like, we're going to release Zack Snyder's true vision for Rebel Moon later in 2024 and put out director's cuts of both of those movies.
So neither original Rebel Moon got a theatrical release, right? They were
No.
straight to streaming.
No.
So this is the most fucking made up bullshit I've ever heard.
Exactly.
Because it's like, it's not even like there was a version that went to theaters and now this is like a streaming exclusive director's cut. It's like, no, we just put a version direct to streaming and are now putting a different version direct to streaming also.
Yeah, it's which version of Rebel Moon do you want to watch? The one with no fucks and no CGI blood and no tits, or one that's longer that we're gonna convince you is his real vision. And
fucking
it's
blows.
so heartless and cynical.
Yeah.
And it's the people who say that Snyder's like a visionary director and has a great visual style, they can't even like this. These movies look like garbage.
Yeah.
They look like they're shot on a fucking shot in a fishbowl, like it's a
Yeah.
fucking Mandalorian set.
Ugh.
And everything that is cool in those movies that threatens to be cool, whether it's like a character design or a character themselves or set up for a battle sequence, is just like immediately undone. It's immediately cast aside.
Yeah.
And it's also just like it's a mess of influences that don't come together into forming something unique and fun and interesting on their own.
Yeah.
It's him taking Dune and Seven Samurai and Warhammer 40,000 and Star Wars and, loading them into a blender, hitting frappe, drinking it, and then having diarrhea all over the floor, and that's the movie. I hated every minute of my life that I spent watching these movies, and I watched them, again, twice, because I watched the PG-13 cut and the R-rated cut.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Because someone has to. Because
someone has to, and
someone has to
be
see
you.
Zack Snyder's vision fulfilled.
Yeah.
I truly despise those movies, and it's sad because I sort of had hope that they would be good because I love championing like original sci-fi. Zack Snyder can direct. He has directed action before, and then yet somehow the second half of the trilogy is about 50% grain harvesting montages, and then another 50% the most poorly directed final battle sequence I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's just a mess of smoke effects and Adobe After Effects embers and lasers flying everywhere.
Yeah.
It's hot garbage.
Wow.
And it was like his idea for like a mature R-rated Star Wars, and all it amounts to is just like CGI blood and characters saying fuck. Like there's no meat there, there's no substance there.
Wow.
And there's hardly any fun.
So you have hated multiple Zack Snyder films that have come out in the past, in addition to Rebel Moon.
Yeah.
My question for you is Rebel Moon the worst thing that he has made?
I think
Because I know you also really hate...
I haven't seen the Owl movie, and I haven't seen Army of the Dead.
Right. That you've seen, yeah. Because I know you also really hated Batman versus Superman.
Yeah. I think Rebel Moon's the worst.
Wow.
I think it has to be the worst.
You heard it here first, folks. Zack Snyder has hit an artistic low in the year 2024.
Yeah. Let's bring things back up a bit. I'm going to give out a couple more awards.
Yes.
These next awards are for actors who have had multiple film roles this year, and I wanted to celebrate them and highlight them and talk about their best roles. So the award for Best Dan Stevens. Dan Stevens in Godzilla X Kong, Dan Stevens in Abigail, and the winner, Dan Stevens in Cuckoo.
Yeah, I still need to see Cuckoo, but even just the Dan Stevens in the Cuckoo trailer has me very intrigued.
He's insane in Cuckoo.
I do need to. It has hit streaming, so it's probably near in my future.
It's a solid little movie.
Yeah.
I wish it worked better for me a little bit more, but
Yeah.
I mean, like Hunter Schafer's great. Dan Stevens is fun. It's got a fun, off-kilter, strange little mystery to it,
Yeah.
so I definitely recommend it.
Nice.
Award for Best Margaret Qualley.
Yes.
Um,
No matter who loses, Jack Anatoff wins.
yeah. We have Margaret Qualley in The Substance.
Yeah.
Margaret Qualley in Kinds of Kindness.
Yeah.
All three of her characters in Kinds of Kindness. And the winner, Margaret Qualley in Drive Away Dolls.
Okay. All right. Better than The Substance. Obviously, I haven't seen Drive Away Dolls.
Drive Away Dolls is another one of my fuck you, I had fun movies.
That's the one that's by one Cohen, right?
Yeah, I believe it's Ethan Coen.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And a lot of people surprisingly just like hated that movie.
Huh.
And fuck you, I had fun.
Fair enough.
And a lot of that is Margaret Qualley just like committing 100% to her role, which she also does in The Substance and in Yorgos Lanthimos' Kinds of Kindness.
Yeah.
But she's just so infectiously funny in that movie. Like maybe the funniest single performance I saw this year.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch a lot of comedies, so. And then award for Best Nicholas Hoult, who just like closed out the year with 3 really good performances right after the other.
Right.
Nicholas Hoult in Juror Number 2, Nicholas Hoult in The Order, and the winner, Nicholas Hoult in Nosferatu.
He is pretty good in Nosferatu. You know who else fucking rules in Nosferatu? Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Thank you.
He is.
Thank you.
Okay, so apparently there has been discourse about this.
Apparently people think he sucks in that movie.
I have been avoiding Nosferatu discourse until I saw it. I only just saw it last night. So I have been fully unplugged from the Nosferatu internet discourse because I didn't want anything fucking spoiled for me before I saw it. Now that I've finally seen it, I was like looking at opinions about the movie, and I was shocked, flabbergasted to find that people disliked that performance because he's one of the best performances in the movie, right? I kind of think, for me, I kind of think like Dafoe is at the top. He's just number one with a bullet, doing the most in that movie, and he's only in like a third of it, right? And then second is probably Lily Rose Depp, although real close with number 3, which for me is Aaron Taylor Johnson. I'm like, he is fucking nailing this performance. He's so fucking good. I fucking love that he's like, this fucking vampire shit going on, man. What the hell? Get these fucking people out of my house.
He's the most British German guy.
Yes.
Which I think maybe is throwing people off. Like, why is this guy like tea and crumpets British in the middle of Germany in the 1830s?
Yeah.
But that's just the nature of the nature of the people that Robert Eggers cast, and the fact that he can't do that movie in subtitled German, which I'm sure he wanted to.
I just love how over the whole Nosferatu of it all he is. He's basically just like, I don't give a shit if there's a fucking ancient evil possessing her. I just want to fucking like chill with my family. Like, when are you leaving?
He has an incredible, I mean, I'm not going to spoil it, but incredible final scene in that movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Where the worst thing imaginable has happened to him.
Yeah.
And the only way you can react to that is just by giving into the insanity, I guess. And yeah, I think he's fantastic in that movie.
Yeah.
I guess I'll do a couple more, and then we'll move on to our top 5.
Right. Okay.
These will be my last 2 funny, stupid awards.
Sounds good.
Award for best performance from an actor in Reagan. Dennis Quaid in Reagan. Dennis Quaid in The Substance. John Voight in Reagan. John Voight in Megalopolis. And it goes to Dennis Quaid in The Substance.
Oh yeah. He's so fucking good in that.
It is unthinkable that this performance came out like a couple months after Reagan.
What a strange year for Dennis Quaid.
Really. And John Voight. Like, John Voight's fucking hilarious in Megalopolis.
Yeah.
Also, all of you fuckers out there who are like, Megalopolis is weird and it doesn't make sense. Yeah, I know it's weird and it doesn't make sense. Megalopolis is fucking funny, and it's supposed to be.
Right.
And if you're not laughing when John Voight says, I got this boner here, I don't want to know you. I don't know what's wrong with you.
John Voight having a boner is objectively funny.
He has a boner, and then he shoots Shia LaBeouf with a crossbow.
Does he have is his boner Aubrey Plaza related?
I think so.
Okay, yeah. I feel like I remember that being a thing.
She's bumping and grinding on a lot of people in that movie.
Ah, yes. Anyway.
And then award.
Man, Dennis Quaid eating that shrimp.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the most disgusting part of that movie.
It is.
Which, if
really
you've seen The Substance, you know is quite the bar to clear.
It really is horrific.
Fucking horrible.
And then the award,
munching on them shrimp heads.
Part of the reason why I saw 57 movies this year is because I started sneaking into more movies.
Yes.
So the award for best movie I snuck into this year: Argyle, Madam Web, Late Night with the Devil, Borderlands, Reagan, and the winner by a fucking landslide, The Bike Riders.
Yeah.
I watched it the second time too. Oh, I also snuck in a Nosferatu the second time, but first time I saw it, I paid money, so I'm not going to count that. But I watched Bike Riders recently because I kept thinking about it, and excellent movie that people, I think, it didn't do particularly well, and I think people were expecting like Goodfellas with bikers, and it's not that. It's what every other outlaw biker movie is, which is a hangout movie.
Yeah.
And I thought the performances were all great. Jodie Comer, I already mentioned earlier, she's fantastic in that. Tom Hardy's great. Austin Butler's really good. just a very beautifully made movie.
Nice.
And I feel bad that I didn't pay money for it, but I think it was like probably the last night that it was showing, and I went to go see something else.
Well,
and,
maybe you could pick
saw
up the
something
Blu-ray
after.
when it comes out or something.
Yeah.
Or not.
Those are all my fun awards.
Yeah.
Let's get to our top 5.
Well, before we get to our top 5, I do want to like just briefly sidebar on one of the movies that you mentioned
Yeah.
on your snuck into list, because I doubt it is going to be showing up on either of our top 5s,
Yeah.
which is it was a hair's breadth from beating out Maxine for most disappointing for me. Late Night with the Devil.
It was my most disappointing until I really did some soul searching and gave it to Romulus.
A lot of people were really buzzing on Late Night with the Devil, and I'm a found footage freak. It has sort of a found footage format to it in a lot of ways, right? There's some stuff that breaks it from being like truly found footage, but it's like it is of a found footage-esque ilk, right? And so I was like, this is absolutely going to be my shit.
Yeah.
It's completely going to be right up my alley based on everything that everyone's saying about it. And even when the AI art stuff started coming out, and I was like, that kind of blows, but that doesn't mean that the movie has no merit, right? I was still excited. And then I saw the movie and I was like,
Yeah. Das Malchian's great.
Yes. Das Malchian comes out
Ugh.
squeaky clean.
Yeah.
Right? He comes out and you're like, that is a guy who should be the leading man in way more movies.
Yeah.
He holds that movie together admirably, and he does a fantastic job with a big meaty role, instead of just being like a weird side guy like you usually see him as, right? And so like him I was really, really positive on. The movie as a whole, I was just like, we're kind of just doing better movies. Like we're kind of just like, oh, now it's like a little The Exorcist riff, and now it's like a little, and I'm like, I don't watch Ghost Watch.
Yeah, it doesn't really commit to the aesthetic.
Yeah.
It doesn't really commit to being a found footage movie. And,
Yeah.
I mean, the scares aren't particularly memorable or well done.
Yeah.
It feels like 45 minutes worth of ideas stretched out to 90 minutes, frankly.
And even people were buzzing a lot about the weird kind of trippy ending. And when I watched the movie, I was like, I kind of wish it had been weirder.
Yeah, I mean,
You
it was
know?
fine, but I don't like that it broke. I mean, I just wish it had more confidence in its central premise. Frankly.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
Same.
so,
them breaking from the TV show format to do
Yeah.
like the behind the scenes stuff in the black and white really, I think, was a very bad choice
Yeah.
for the movie.
Yeah.
And really like breaks up the pace, kind of like breaks the immersion. I was really looking forward to that one, and then it ended up being kind of like a whatever,
Yeah.
Anyway, but now we can talk about some movies that we did like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll shout out my 10 through 6, I guess, just
Yeah.
real quickly.
Yes, please do.
Because I have enough to
Yes.
talk about.
I don't. If I went to number 10, or if I went to 10, that would be more than half of the movies that I saw. So I'm only going to do 5. But I want to hear your 6 through 10.
If you want to see my list, it's on my Letterboxd. Go onto our link tree.
Yeah.
I have all my movies ranked. So 10 through 6. At 10, I have Strange Darling. Just like a fucking baseball bat to the kneecaps. Fun as hell. Extremely well directed and well acted. Thriller. Conclave is
Yeah.
my number 9.
Yeah.
Happy that it's getting some awards buzz. I wasn't sure that it would.
That was another one of High Priestess Pod's favorite of the year. She really
Yeah.
she liked Conclave more than I did, and I really liked Conclave.
Yeah, I locked into Conclave like immediately, and I just wrote it all the way to the end. I had so much fun with it.
We're determined not to do full spoilers, so I'm not going to say what it is, but there is a moment late in Conclave that was one of the most shocking moments of the year for me, where like a thing happens in Conclave, and I was like, I'm sorry, wait, what the fuck movie am I watching right now? You know what I'm talking about.
Is it what is it? Is it
It's the thing that seems like it's from an action movie that just happens all of a sudden.
the bomb
Yes.
going off? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, spoilers for Conclave, but yes, it's
Yeah,
when,
okay.
it's when the Sistine Chapel, in the middle of this like quiet, sort of measured political chamber drama, starring all of these like all of these like older actors with like lots of gravitas, right? You got Ray Fiennes, you got Lithgow,
Yeah.
and it's been very like calm and talky and quiet, and then suddenly the fucking Sistine Chapel just explodes in the middle of a scene.
There's some sort of like political unrest that's going on in the background
I
of the
love
movie.
that you never figure out what
and
it is.
it never really comes to anything except for the Sistine Chapel exploding.
Yes. It's just, it is a moment of that movie where I was like, what? I didn't realize that this was a thing that could happen in this movie.
I wasn't sure if it was that or the reveal at the very end.
Yeah, the reveal's good too.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as shocking as the bombing to me.
The reveal's gotten a lot more discourse than the bombing.
Yeah.
Love the papal turtles, by the way.
Oh yeah. Oh man, those turtles. That's my favorite performance of the year.
Number 8, Kinds of Kindness.
Yeah.
Between this and Poor Things, I'm a fucking Yorgos Lanthimos fan, I guess. Thought this was just like delightfully fun.
We
and
really got to do
absurdist and
Killing of a
strange.
Sacred Deer.
Yeah, we should do Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Anyway.
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
Number 7, The Substance. Everything you've heard about it. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucked up. It's got a great energy to it. A lot of people like criticizing that movie for hammering the themes over and over again. But 1, that's the point. And 2, it's so refreshing to see a movie do that visually.
Yes.
Like, there's not a ton of dialogue in that movie, and the themes of beauty standards are all so much of that is conveyed with visual storytelling.
Yeah.
And I think that's really elegantly done.
Mm-hmm.
And number 6, which was my number 5, and then a late entry just bumped it down to 6. The best 90 minutes I had in the theater this year is watching, the satanic horror revenge post-apocalyptic Western of the year, Azrael. Just like every 5 minutes, the coolest thing I've ever seen happened in that movie. And it's just like an excellently executed concept of like a 90-minute post-apocalyptic horror action movie in a world where, all of its main characters have cut out their tongues due to religious zealotry. So there is no spoken dialogue for that entire movie.
Interesting.
And Samara Weaving just carries that movie with her physical performance.
Yeah.
And she's fantastic.
I do like her. Yeah. I'll have to give that one a watch.
Yeah, I think it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I'd heard buzz about it. I hadn't gotten around to it.
And that's my 10 through 6. Justice, what's your number 5?
My number 5 movie of 2024 is the lesbian crime bodybuilding drama thriller directed by Rose Glass, Love Lies Bleeding, starring Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien and the aforementioned freak mode Ed Harris.
He looks like the Crypt Keeper.
Yes,
He's just rocking the fucking skullet.
Man, when he eats that fucking bug.
Oh, I applauded.
Oh, yeah.
I applauded in the. I heard other people in the theater go like, "Ew," and I was like, "Yeah."
He is fully like a monster in that movie. He is like a goblin. It's awesome. Love Lies Bleeding is number 5 for me. I really fucked with Love Lies Bleeding. I thought it was great. The only thing that kept it from being higher on my list is that like as weird and offbeat it gets, I kind of like in those moments where it reached its kind of like peak weirdness, I was like, okay, now what? And then the movie kind of like backed off a little bit, and I was like, oh, like I really wanted there to be maybe even a little more there, but like still really impressive directorial effort from Rose Glass. Fucking star-making performance from Katie O'Brien. She rocks in that movie. Kristen Stewart is amazing as always. And yeah, it's just like it's there's enough like thematic juice to that movie that you can kind of like dig around and analyze stuff if you want to, but more than anything, just a fucking really entertaining time. Like watching Love Lies Bleeding is is what you want out of like a crime drama thriller type movie,
Mhm.
like a neo noir, right? Where it's like mostly the thing that you're doing is fucking hooting and hollering and having fun. And yeah, I think it fucking rocks. And also it's about going to the gym. which I love a movie that's about going to the gym.
Yeah.
So yeah, number 5 is Love Lies Bleeding.
A24 made Crater Gym t-shirts.
Fuck
I
yeah.
kind of want one.
Yeah. Oh man, so many people working out and then immediately smoking cigarettes in that movie too. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
I sort of feel like our top 5 is gonna be similar.
It might be, yeah.
Because Love Lies Bleeding is gonna come up later on my list. I'll let you know that right now.
Alrighty.
But my number 5 is possibly the best looking movie of the year, I think. And one that I haven't gone back to, and I should, but it's definitely resonated with me, and I've been thinking about it, and it's stuck with me in a pretty profound way. And that's Jane Schoenbrun's I Saw the TV Glow. And, I can't speak to the trans allegory of that film. A lot of people have talked about that endlessly, but to me, it's just a heartbreaking story about two lost, lonely people finding some sort of connection with each other, and at the end of the century, the end of the millennium, and trying to discover who they are, and trying to hold on to that part of themselves that maybe they're afraid to express to the world and show to the world, and all of the existential horror that comes along with that.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's just beautifully shot. Some of the most powerful images and use of color and lighting and film grain and cinematography this year. I think both of the central performances are fantastic. Fucking Fred Durst is in the movie, and he's great.
He barely speaks, but he is glowering. If you ever wanted to see fucking middle-aged
deadbeat dad,
doughy Fred Durst just glower and sulk, watch I Saw the TV Glow.
And it's got King Woman performing Psychic Wounds.
Oh yeah.
So
and Phoebe Bridgers and Sloppy Jane are in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also performing.
Yeah. I Saw the TV Glow. I'm sure you'll be talking about it at some point here. It's,
I just might be.
It's fucking great.
Yeah. +1 to everything that you said. Great movie. It's my turn to do number 4, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. My number 4 movie of the year is the aforementioned The Substance. I fucking love The Substance. It is probably the one that after watching it kind of grew on me the most, because immediately after watching it I was like, that movie was great. And the farther away I get from it and the more it's had opportunity to sink in, the more I'm like, I think The Substance is a masterpiece, and I think it's a movie that I'm probably going to go back to relatively frequently, despite the runtime. All the stuff that you said, I +1, right? It is it's great visual storytelling. I didn't get tired of the pretty overt thematic point that it was making, because it's a satire, right? So it's it's a takedown of beauty standards and body image and stuff. And in order for it to be effective at that, it has to be a super overblown version of it, right? And so the whole satire element of it works really well for me. I think the performances are just fucking phenomenal in that movie. The editing and just the visual style of that movie is fucking so addictive to me. It's I was drawn in immediely just through the pacing, the music, the colors.
Yeah,
know,
it's all like a drug in that movie.
Yeah,
it just it feels like a never-ending trip.
Yeah. And it rules. And also, it's fucking so gross and so gory, and there is so much practical effects work. There's the fucking insane balls to the wall fight choreo sequence that kind of comes out of nowhere, like you aren't really expecting it. Like shit like that in that movie, I'm like, this is like it's like a prestige B movie, right? It's like the best B movie that it is possible to make. You know, and man, I just had a fucking great time with The Substance. I loved it so much. So yeah, that's number 4.
Yeah.
And you know, Demi, I'm gunning for you at those Oscars.
Yeah.
David, what was your 4th favorite movie of the year?
My 4th favorite movie of the year is a horror film that a lot of people liked, most people hated, and I don't know that there's a person on Earth, other than maybe the person sitting across from me right now, that loves this movie as much as I do. And that's Chris Nash's ambient slasher movie, In a Violent Nature.
Yeah, bitch.
So the both times I watched this movie were probably like not the correct way to watch this movie, where I was tired.
Yeah.
I was tired both times I've seen this movie.
Yep.
I went to go see it after one of our rehearsals.
Yeah.
Because it was the last time it was in theaters. And so I went at like 9:30 at night.
Yeah.
To watch a movie about a slasher villain walking slowly through the forest and then occasionally killing someone in the most violent way possible. And then the second time I watched it was with you, and you fell asleep.
I fell asleep, yeah.
It was after recording one of our podcasts. And I think this is one of the most important slasher movies since Scream.
Yeah.
I think it is, just by shifting the perspective, I think it does so much to the formula. It injects it with life. And you can, people are like, oh, the characters aren't that good and the writing's not that good. Well, what this movie is a Friday the 13th movie from Jason's perspective.
Yes.
And so all of the characters are behaving like characters would behave in an 80s slasher movie.
Exactly.
They're talking about sex.
Yep.
They're using the stupid slang period of the time. It's just current instead of in the 80s.
Yeah.
The Friday the 13th movie is happening just like slightly on the edges of the frame.
Yeah.
That you don't see. And you spend so much time with the slasher character, Johnny, trudging through the woods. And it's beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
It's, it immerses you in nature and explores like the inherent beauty and the inherent horror of nature in a really interesting way. And also happens to have a couple of the most violent kill scenes ever in the horror genre. And, I think it is a really excellent, expertly crafted movie.
Yeah.
I think that movie is very, very deliberately paced and deliberately crafted and edited.
Yeah.
And I love it. I had such a good time watching it both times. The thing that maybe like holds it back ever so slightly for me is I feel like he got about 90% there in terms of fulfilling his idea. And I'm really interested to see what, what he does with the sequel, or what another filmmaker could do with fulfilling that extra 10% of doing a slasher film solely focused on the slasher villain.
It'll be really interesting to see what he does with that sequel for sure. Thank you. The High Priestess Pod just brought me coffee.
And I love the ending. A lot of people hate the ending. I sort of think the ending is the most important piece of that movie.
Yeah. Are those most of your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so time for me to talk about my 3rd favorite movie of the year, In a Violent Nature, directed by Chris Nash. The reason that I jumped in right there is because the main thing that I have to add to everything that you said, which I completely agree with, is that I think the ending of In a Violent Nature elevates that movie from being like a very good postmodern, interesting, experimental take on the standard slasher film, right? It was already that. The last scene turns it from that into like cinema, right? It turns it into like a piece of art that I think will stand the test of time to me. Because like, if you haven't seen the end of In a Violent Nature, just watch In a Violent Nature. But like the last scene, the thing that's so important about it is that the entire movie has been about subverting and like undermining your expectations of what a slasher movie does, right? And in the last scene of the movie sort of like opens the door to like, maybe we're going to like do the thing that you do expect.
Right.
Right. And the whole movie, it's been doing things that you didn't expect. And so at the very end, it's like, but you still kind of have this thing in you where you still think, even though you know the movie you're watching, you've been with us for this whole journey, there is still part of you that is like so deeply ingrained in like the genre conventions of this thing that like we're still gonna trick you into thinking what you're gonna see is the thing that you're expecting, right? And I love it just stringing you along for so long in that last scene and just like ratcheting up the tension, and you're just like, I can't believe that this movie that has been wearing what it is on its sleeve the entire time is like getting one over on me this subtly. Like, it's just, I think it's truly genius.
Yeah, I mean, that movie is basically, it's about the scenes and the shots that you don't see.
Yes.
And
the end of the movie is not seeing something.
Is exactly that. It's the scenes that you don't see in the slasher movie, without getting into it. And I think it's a really just like excellent subversion at the final act of that film is fantastic stuff. Also,
as a guy who loves ambient music, drone music, and hiking, fucking great movie for me.
You know, could have used more hiking, frankly.
Yeah,
I would have loved a little bit more hiking.
Honestly, if he was trudging around even more, the movie would maybe be my number one.
Like an extra 10 minutes of trudging would be great.
Yeah, 15, 20 more minutes of just Johnny walking through the forest while like birds chirp and shit. It might be in the number one slot. And I'm like not joking. Oh man, the fucking log splitter scene.
Log splitter scene's great.
Oh baby. What a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also like the kill of the year is in that movie. Which is the hook one.
Yeah, the yoga kill.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So you know, if you're a fan of blood and guts like David and I, and you haven't checked out In a Violent Nature, you are truly missing out.
And I think like if you have seen it, watch it again from the perspective of like, you know, this is what you don't see in the slasher movie.
Yeah.
Down to the way certain shots are framed and the way certain things are edited. Maybe you'll have a better time with it.
I'm really interested to see what he does with the sequel, though.
Yeah.
I have expressed multiple times that what I would like him to do for the sequel is to remake the exact same movie, but to shoot it as if it is a conventional slasher movie and to follow the teens the whole time, like just make it like it's Friday the 13th, but literally the exact same movie with the same actors and the same dialogue. Like that's my dream vision of what the sequel would look like. but I also think that probably wouldn't be like a good money making venture for Chris Nash, because a lot of people who aren't me would be like, it's the same movie again, whereas I would be like, it's genius.
Also, that movie probably has the best end credit song of the year.
Oh yeah.
The Black Fly song.
Yes.
Love some folk music.
Yeah.
At the end of a slasher flick.
Yeah. Great movie.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Is it me?
It is you. Yes. And it's your turn to do number 3.
Number 3.
Yeah.
You already mentioned it. Love Lies Bleeding, baby.
Yeah.
A movie that contends that steroids are awesome and you should use them.
Well, it sort of does. And then at the same time, there are moments in that movie where it's like, oh, maybe steroids are bad, actually.
I would argue that steroid use saves the day in that movie.
It does. It also makes Katie O'Brien see fucking Jacob's Ladder people. You know, when in Jacob's Ladder, when you're seeing like the demons with the fucked up faces.
What a beautiful fucked up little movie.
Mm-hmm.
There have been a lot of movies this year that I would call like horny or sexy. This movie is about like the ugliness of passion and love and obsession, and I think the romance between Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien, both of them give incredible performances. I love that strange ugly beast is like the beating heart of this crime thriller, body horror, weird fucked up little thing.
Although kind of wish that there had been a little bit more body horror, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I
with
mean, but we got shit in that movie.
Yeah, that's true.
We got people are biting toes.
we got needles. Yeah.
It's Rose Glass directed Saint Maud, and people love Saint Maud. I thought it was kind of the dictionary definition of an A24 horror movie that like a normie would watch.
Yeah, parentheses derogatory.
Right.
A24 movie derogatory.
I was like, it's a couple good performances, interesting atmosphere. There's not much else here for me.
Yeah.
So for her to deliver one of my favorite movies of this year and one of my favorite movies of all time is a feat, and I love it. I think more people should watch it. I think people sort of like lost interest in it. It didn't have like the kind of staying power as The Substance or something else this year.
Yeah. Well, The Substance has that visual hook.
Yeah.
Love Lies Bleeding looks great.
I would argue watching Katie O'Brien do bodybuilding poses is a pretty big visual hook for me personally.
You make a compelling point. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that I have anything to add. I thought it fucking rocks.
Yeah.
It's
movie.
great movie.
Yeah.
What's your number 2?
Number 2 is Dune Part 2. For all of my thoughts on Dune Part 2, go listen to our Dune Part 2 episode. I don't need to spend a bunch of time in this episode talking about it, but it's my second favorite movie of the year. A masterpiece. Fucking really, really hope Messiah happens. David, what is your second favorite movie of the year?
I need to, if I may borrow a quote from SpongeBob SquarePants. Nosferatu. I didn't know if Nosferatu was going to be in my top 5 this year, let alone this high.
Yeah.
Because the first time I watched it, I was sort of like soaking. It was like watching Dune, where I was sort of soaking it all in and just trying to make a sense of the images happening on screen in front of me.
Yeah.
So I had to sit with it a bit, and then I went back to watch it again last week, and holy shit, man!
Yeah.
Like, Robert Eggers is 4 for 4. I made it clear on my Northman episode how much I love this guy's work, and I think he delivers, a great, unique, lovingly made adaptation of Dracula and Nosferatu. The performances across the board are excellent. Bill Skarsgård, his voice is such a presence in that movie.
It's crazy. The vocal performance is fucking crazy.
All achieved without any sort of digital After Effects. He's doing that voice for real.
He's like growling and purring and shit in that movie. It's fucking wild.
The makeup effects for Nosferatu are great. And I think the atmosphere of that film, the just overwhelming sense of dread and evil and darkness, like we haven't, sort of like with like black metal, every black metal band's trying to be the next most evil and dark black metal band.
Yeah.
That happens with some horror movies where we're trying to be more evil and dark than the last one. I think we have another like benchmark evil and dark horror flick.
Okay.
And it's all in the atmosphere and the natural lighting and the editing and just the incredible camera work that he does in that film.
Yeah.
I'm glad I went back and saw it again. And I was sort of hoping at the beginning of the year that it would be this high on my list, and I'm happy to say that it definitely delivered for me.
Yeah.
Right there in the final hour of the year.
Hell yeah. It didn't end up making my top 5, but I did enjoy it a lot. I think it hit less well for me than it did for you, but also I've only seen it the once, and I am excited to go back to it because there's a lot to absorb in that movie. But I will say, like, again, I only just saw it last night, so it's still pretty fresh for me. A lot of the stuff that you're saying I agree with. The thing for me with that movie is I was like, I am so familiar with the Dracula story, and I have seen so many adaptations of Dracula that it was pretty hard for me to like not compare and contrast what Nosferatu was doing against other versions of the same story. And like most of the time, Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula was coming out on top when I was comparing them in my mind, where I was like, yeah, but like Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula is hornier, and I like that it's hornier, you know? And so I feel like there was like a little bit of like a mental hoops that I was making the movie jump through that isn't really fair to the movie.
Yeah.
But it is like a very well-known story that's been done a bunch of times. And so I was kind of like, well, what new stuff are you bringing to it? And I think the new stuff that he was bringing to it that I did really appreciate was a lot of the Robert Eggers visual style. It is a phenomenal looking movie. It is like it's such an experience to just like sit there and like live in it. He really he really gets the most out of translating this story to like visual storytelling, right? Well, and I mean I guess like since he's remaking Nosferatu, not like he didn't call it Dracula, right? It is an intentional thing where it's like that was a silent film, so it's like pure visual storytelling that he's like kind of adapting and updating and using as his reference point, and you can really feel that. It kind of does feel like a silent film at a lot of points.
I think it stands out as a Nosferatu adaptation as opposed to Dracula.
Yeah. I haven't seen the Herzog one, but
because it has a grittiness and a griminess to it that the original Nosferatu has. And I mean, talking about like Coppola's Dracula, as opposed to the horniness, I think this is dealing with a lot more psychologically complex themes about abuse and obsession and repression, and I think so. That's how I sort of separate them.
Yeah,
like Coppola's Dracula is the sort of like the hyper romantic version of Dracula, where we play up the romance of everything of the period of the relationship between the characters. It's such a lush and gorgeous looking movie.
Yeah,
and Eggers' Nosferatu is so grim and ugly and grimy, with little shades of beauty here and there. And also just like, I think Lily Rose Depp's performance is stunning in that film.
Yep.
She really holds that movie down and is carrying a lot of the thematic weight on her shoulders.
Yeah, totally.
With how that film discusses feminism and the way that we treated mental illness with women back then.
Yeah, make her sleep in her corset, tie her to the bed.
Yeah. And I mean, everything else. Defoe's great. Aaron Taylor Johnson's great.
Fucking
Nicholas Hoult
Defoe
is great.
delivers that line where he talks about like, I've seen things that would make Isaac Newton crawl back into his mother's womb. I was like, that's one of my favorite things I've ever witnessed in a film is Willem Dafoe saying that.
Yeah. I think this is my third favorite Eggers now. I think Northman's at the bottom.
This is Nosferatu's at the bottom for me currently, but that might change upon subsequent viewing.
That's sort of how I felt walking out of it the first time,
Yeah.
but I knew that I needed to see it again.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying it's their favorite, and I'm sort of wondering if they're coming to it as like already an Eggers fan or someone someone who isn't as into his work.
Yeah, that's an interesting take to me, because as much as I liked Nosferatu, I'm like kind of think The Lighthouse is like an obvious better movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Number 2 fittingly goes to Nosferatu.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we both had a 2. I had Dune Part 2, and you had Nosferatu.
Yeah.
At 2.
What's your number 1?
My number 1. My number 1 movie is a movie that you already talked about. It is, in my opinion, the second 5-star total masterpiece, perfect movie that this filmmaker, who has made 2 movies so far, has made, which is Jane Schoenbrun's I Saw the TV Glow. It's the easy number 1 for me this year. Instantly one of my favorite movies of all time. A movie that I have not stopped thinking about at all since I saw it, which was like 7 months ago. It lives in my head constantly. I think it's the exact type of art that our world desperately needs right now, in that it is very empathetic, but also unflinchingly realistic about the challenges that we as humans face in our modern world, right? I think everything that you said about the performances, I would echo that. Everything that you said about the visuals of that movie, you said it's maybe the best looking movie that you saw all year. I would totally agree with that. I think it is fucking gorgeous. And I think the experience of watching that movie made me a better person. And I think that a movie that can do that deserves a level of praise reserved for only the best of the best. Because I truly think that I, after seeing that movie, have thought about how I can be kind and sensitive to my fellow human beings on this planet more because of the emotions that were stirred in me by engaging with that story. And I think that it's amazing that art can do that. So yeah, it's my number one movie of the year. And also, King Woman is in it, and she goes, "Felt like a psychic wound." So
Yeah, that King Woman scene's maybe the most metal moment in any movie this year.
Yeah. I do also parting words about that is that I do think that Bridget Lundy Payne delivers one of the best monologues in cinema history in that movie. There is a monologue, an extended long take monologue from Bridget Lundy Payne, one of the two leads of that movie, where sitting in the theater, I felt like I was transcending to a higher plane of existence. I felt like I was hovering out of my seat because it was just such incredible work.
If I can put my my white guy ally hat on,
Yeah,
and everyone can take this with the grain of salt that comes along with that.
Right.
It is incredibly disappointing to me that a movie like Emilia Perez is making all of these awards buzz and getting these awards. A movie that I've heard deals with the trans experience in a very, poorly done way that's not accurate to the trans experience and is in fact sort of regressive and disrespectful. When a movie like I Saw the TV Glow, which is directed by a trans woman that stars actors who are non-binary.
I believe Jane Schoenbrunn is also non-binary, but
yeah, okay.
I believe they are trans and non-binary.
Yeah,
but anyway,
but a film that deals with that experience from people who have lived that experience. It just sucks that movie isn't getting the praise that it deserves. And even shit like The People's Joker, which I haven't seen, but I know trans people who have seen that film and really felt like it spoke to them and their experience with transness.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen I Saw the TV Glow, please watch it because I think it's a genuinely beautiful and moving piece of art made by people who have experienced living outside the gender binary.
Yes. And I'll just close out final thoughts on I Saw the TV Glow by saying, in addition to encouraging you to check it out if you haven't watched it, also watch Jane Schoenbrunn's directorial debut, We're All Going to the World's Fair. Because I know a lot of people were introduced to Jane Schoenbrunn by I Saw the TV Glow coming out because it got like a wide theatrical release, which We're All Going to the World's Fair didn't. And there were also some like bigger names attached, like some of the actors like people knew from other stuff, whereas like We're All Going to the World's Fair was like basically unknowns, right? So it didn't get the buzz. If you have only seen I Saw the TV Glow, definitely go back and watch We're All Going to the World's Fair because again, I think that movie is also a 5-star perfect film, total masterpiece.
I think both of those films are, really speak to growing up in the 90s and then, reaching your 30s and wondering what the hell you've been doing with all this time. Like it's if you've hit that quarter life existential crisis that myself, a lot of people have. I think these movies do a really good job of speaking to those fears.
Yeah, and I just cannot wait to see what they do next, what Jane Schoenbrunn does next, because they're probably the filmmaker that I am the most interested in right now.
Yeah.
And I just really want to see what else they have coming up. David, what is your number one movie of the year?
Lead Them to Paradise, baby. It's Dune Part 2. Surprising no one, least of all myself.
Yeah.
It was the first movie I saw this year,
Yeah.
and I was like, that's going to be hard to beat. And no movie this year came close to touching it. You want more thoughts? Hey, we did a 3-hour episode
Yep.
on Dune 2. You can listen to that.
Yeah, go listen to that. Go listen to our episode on Dune Part 1 as well.
But I mean, I've watched this bitch like 5 times this year.
Yeah.
In a lot of times, like right after watching Dune 1. I think it is a masterpiece in every sense of the word. Once in the generation type of experience, and can't wait for Messiah.
Yeah.
And even if we don't get Messiah, I think it is. We couldn't have asked for a better conclusion to and a Dune adaptation than what Denis Villeneuve and Timothée Chalamet and everyone involved brought to the table. I'm speechless. I really don't have any more words for it or any adjectives to throw out.
Again, if people want more words about it, we got a whole episode on that.
And
you can get your fill of us talking about Dune. Lisan al Gaibs.
Lisan al Gaibs.
Yeah. That's the show.
Yeah. Do you have any other closing thoughts about the year in film, or I don't know?
No, I just what are we looking forward to next year?
Oh yeah,
Do you have anything?
That's a good question. I actually didn't prepare anything because I forgot that was part of this.
We got Avatar 3 happening.
I am excited about Avatar 3.
So,
I did like Way of Water,
Yeah.
and I will be seated for whatever the subtitle of the next one is. Oh, the monkey. That seems like it's going to be weird. It's Osgood Perkins' next movie.
Yeah.
That seems like it might be fun. We didn't really talk about Osgood.
We didn't talk about Longlegs.
Osgood Perkins' film this year. No, we didn't. But I will say, seeing Longlegs does make me interested in the monkey. The monkey is being marketed as more of a straightforward horror comedy, which Longlegs was not marketed that way. And then a lot of people were confused when they saw the movie, and it was quite funny. And I think it's good that Osgood Perkins is kind of intentionally leaning into the comedy with the monkey, because it was the thing that was good about Longlegs is that it was weird and offbeat and kind of funny. But I think people just didn't expect it and maybe weren't ready for it.
Yeah.
But, you know, you cannot deny that it's fucking hilarious when Nick Cage starts going, "Let me in now and it can be nice." It's scary, but it's also funny.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the monkey is like. Ryan Coogler's Sinners vampire movie looks like it could be fun.
I do love a vampire movie.
But mostly, like, what's coming to mind is Avatar 3, baby. It's
Yeah.
just like Dune, but water.
Yeah.
Wave, one could say.
Do you think we'll get more Pyakon?
Pyakon? We
Yeah.
fucking better get more Pyakon.
Yeah. He's the breakout character of Way of Water for me was that subtitled whale. Oh, there's another Jurassic World movie coming out next year.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably gonna be dog shit.
Well, it's Gareth Edwards
Oh, it
directing
is.
it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm hopeful that it at least looks good, but he's also a bit of a hit and miss in terms of like actually delivering a good movie for me.
Oh, you know what my fucking basic ass like 90s slasher loving ass is super stoked for? The fucking reboot of I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh my god.
They're making
doing that?
Yeah, they're making another one. I think it's actually like a legacy sequel. I don't think it's like a reboot. Like it's like they're bringing back I think a couple of the members of the original cast. Not Sarah Michelle because she gets killed in the original movie. Sorry, spoilers for I Know What You Did Last Summer. But I am a little excited for that. I'll be seeing that.
So it's I Know What You Did the Last Summer. I still know.
I'll
always know.
Yeah. They haven't dropped the title for the 2025 one yet, though.
I think it should be after all these years. Yes, bitch, I still know what you did 30 summers ago.
I continue knowing what you. Yeah. I forgot, but then I remembered what you did last summer.
Yeah.
I bet you thought I forgot about what you did last summer. Anyway,
Captain America: Brave New World? No,
no,
no.
fuck that shit. No.
I'm glad Harrison's getting a paycheck to be a giant red guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
I think that's it. Hey, thanks for listening. We appreciate your support in this past year, and we hope that you continue to support us this year.
Yeah.
We love you all so much.
David, what are we talking about next week?
Next week, we're back to our usual programming and talking about Hayao Miyazaki's Porco Rosso.
Yes.
With my brother Matthew Scandura.
Yes, it's an episode that we've already recorded. It's in the can. We already had that conversation with Matthew, and you're going to be wanting to tune in next week because it's a good one.
Yeah, it's a movie about a pig that flies an airplane.
Yep. And we do discuss whether or not we would consume his flesh.
So we hope you'll join us for that.
Yes. Thanks for tuning in this week, and now we're gonna take it back to George Lucas and Watto, who brought us into this episode. They're here to play us out.
Thanks, Justice. Wow, George, what a night it's been. We had some laughs, shed some tears, you know.
Yeah, it's been a real night to remember, Watto, and a year to remember here on the greatest movie ever made.
Yes, we couldn't have done it without your support and love.
Because we're the true creative force behind the show, not David and Justice, right?
Oh, absolutely. Fuck those guys.
Fuck them right in the mouth.
But seriously, thank you to everyone who supported the show this year. We wish we had the time to thank you each individually.
Maybe we'll add that to the special edition, you know what I'm saying, buddy? But in the meantime, we hope you stick with us and continue to spread the word about the show for next year.
Yeah, leave a review, and maybe if we get more listeners, we can get a maximum fun deal or something,
Yeah, who knows? I know those boys have those industry connections.
Yeah. Hey, Max Fun, what do you think? You think the fucking McElroy brothers can handle George and Watto?
Yeah.
Give us a call, you sacks of bantapudu.
Okay, Watto, it's time for us to crawl back into the cold embrace of Justice's walls, so we better wrap this up.
Oh, okay. And as always,
Later,
dipshits. Little Annie.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Greatest Movie Ever Made. Please remember to leave us a rating and a review, and to subscribe to the show wherever you listen. We appreciate you supporting the show and spreading the word. Tell your friends to listen, tell your enemies to listen, tell your mom to listen. If your neighbor has an unsecured Bluetooth speaker, connect to it and play an episode. You can follow us on social media at TGMEM_podcast, and if you've got a movie that you want us to talk about, send us an email at thegreatestmoviepodcast@gmail.com.
You have a very good heart, and you are interested in other human beings. You make people feel at ease, and you're very intelligent, and you have a very good heart.